17 and 1800s, ringing became more and more competitive as numerous ringing societies were formed. At the same time, churches had to reduce the number of occasions on which the bells were rung. It was becoming so expensive to pay the ringers for so many commemorative events. Inscriptions continue to give us clues about events of the time. One from 1758, at the time when the preaching of John Wesley was causing tumult among traditional worshippers, says this:
prosperity to the established Church of England. No encouragement to enthusiasm.
Seldom has the word enthusiasm been used so derogatively.
Shall we break it to them that the behaviour of ringers was not getting any better as time went on?
Don't think it'll come as much of a surprise. The lure of ringing competitions with attractive cash prizes threatened to take ringing even further from its religious roots.
In High Wycombe, the bells were rung to celebrate the passing of the Reform Bill in 1832. But a few days later, the ringers refused to ring for the visit of the bishop. He had voted against the bill. Ringers were more likely to give a peal in honour of someone's birthday or a horse race than to usher in divine service.
What may surprise you is that churches actually laid on beer for the ringers. Ringing remained hard physical labour, probably until the 20th century, when improvements in engineering made bells easier to ring. For this reason, it's no surprise that ringers became thirsty. In church wardens' accounts in the 17th and 18th century, there are frequent references to ale being bought for ringers.
And it was clearly intended and accepted that this should be consumed in the belfry. Many belfries had their own flagons made to hold a gallon or more of ale, although rather like modern cigarette packets, some of them were inscribed with their own health warnings.
When I am filled with liquor strong, each man drink once and then ding-dong. Drink not too much to cloud your knobs, lest you forget to make your bobs.
The clergy certainly felt that by the 19th century they had to take back control of towers. Up to this point, ringers had, with a bit of encouragement, typically from the parish clerk, tried to be self-regulating, as this little rhyme in one tower suggests.
If that ring you do come here, you must ring well with hand and ear, keep stroke of time and not go out, or else you forfeit out of doubt. Our law is so concluded here, for every fault a jug of beer. If that you ring with spur or hat, a jug of beer must pay for that. If that you take a rope in hand, these forfeits you must understand, or if that you a bell or throw, it must cost sixpence ere you go. If in this place you swear or curse, sixpence to pay, pull out your purse. Come play the clerk, it is his fee. The one that swears shall not go free.
Clergy tried to get a grip by insisting on ringing happening on the ground floor in view of the congregation. They appointed tower captains and drew up lists of rules, and women began to take an interest in the exercise, as it was still called.
Let's hear it for the ladies. Better when we were involved. The first ever full peal, that's 3 hours worth of ringing, by an all-female band was rung in 1912. Women had been learning to ring for 20 to 30 years by then, but we'd been waiting for 300 years. imagine why the men kept us waiting quite so long, can't you? Ringing a bell is man's work. You wouldn't be strong enough, dear. It's not a proper thing for a lady to do. Or maybe, who'd cook my Sunday lunch if you went out ringing?
You're probably right. But back to badly behaved male ringers. Sometimes, and Ledbury was a case in point, the clergy could be as badly behaved as the bell ringers. Let us present to you the bizarre case of the Reverend John Jackson and Samuel Pedlingham, landlords of the Jolly Crispin in Church Lane.
The rector, the Reverend Jackson, had been suspended for fathering an illegitimate child on one of his servants. The ringers, supporters of the Reverend Jackson, had been stood down and forbidden access to the tower. The curate, Charles Augustus Solvay, a French-sounding name, who was temporarily in charge of the parish, was a man of strict morals. Local innkeeper and bell ringer Samuel Pedlingham was not a man of strict morals, and nor was the local constable, Fleetwood by name.
Our intoxicated ringers was brought low. A sobering story of one Samuel Pedlingham, bell ringer and keeper of the Jolly Crispin, and John Fleetwood, bell ringer and village constable. I'm telling you this story as a cautionary tale how too much cider drinking and too much homemade ale can lead to small disasters and leave the drinkers pale. The Reverend Mr. Jackson was up before the beak, and in his place, a Frenchman, Mr. Solvay, so to speak, was tall and very proper, with a taste for garlic bread.
Garlic bread!
And keen to do his duty and keep his comfy bed. The ringers heard a rumour that Jackson was set free.
Hey!
And up the tower they tottered and rang the bells at 3. Now they had no permission. It was an unwise move. And Mr. Solvay caught them and then he was abused.
Mr. Pedlingham, Mr. Fleetwood, what is this outrage? You are barred from the tower and still you ring the bells.
Mr. Solvay, look at you all get up in your black frock coats. Hey, have a drink, man, and lay your gaiters down.
Scandalous! And you, Constable, what have you got to say for yourself?
I have a mind, Mr. Solvay, to arrest you for the crime of being sober and smelling of garlic.
You have not heard the last of this, nor you, Mr. Pedlingham.
Ding dong, Mr. Solvay!
Now, Mr. Pedlingham and his band of ringers, up before the sessions went, found guilty of indecent words and behaviour violent. And when the landlord lost his inn, rings Andy with his fists, the ringers rang a muffled peal to show their sympathy with wrists. Now, this was called the grossest outrage. The local rag went full to town. The Jolly Crispin closed unnoticed, and ringers new and neat were found. And from thenceforth the rules were changed. No more baccy, no more beer. On a moonlit night, in winter, muffled bells you still can hear.